Okay, let's go right into this thing real quick so you guys understand exactly what's happening. As you know, into the not too distant future, basically, individuals will be furloughed, let go, laid off, put onto a system where they're no longer active on the Social Security Administration's, active duty role of continuous labor, right? So the bottom line is we have some who are going to stay on staff and some who are not. Now, there are exceptions and furloughs for all these different government shutdowns that potentially could last for 5 days, could last for 10 days, could last for 20 days, could last so on and so forth. We are going to go through how many individuals for each one of these, categories of offices and how many people you're going to lose as a result of this situation. So you're going to see that there is, as a result of the government being closed, a real effect to the amount of people that are actually currently available that will be allowed to stay on and keep working. Now, some of you will say, well, how do they get paid? They get paid sometimes if they run out of money and it lasts long enough from the trust funds. Although some pay also automatically comes from the trust funds. So the bottom line is the longer this thing lasts, the more it's going to harm the trust funds in a long-term sense because it's going to take more money from the trust funds because these payments are considered absolutely necessary. So they'll actually deplete their own money source, the trust funds, to go ahead and keep the agency rolling. Here we go. Sorry, hit the little thing there. Let's go through it real quick and get the ball rolling. So in the office of the actuary, okay, so these are like your, statisticians, your accountants, stuff like that. There's a total of 45 employees. There will be an exception for a total of 3 of them. There will be 42 furloughs that actually occur. Explanation for the exceptions: executive leadership necessary for wind down activities and coordination of actuarial work related to the lapse in funding. So they're only going to keep the actuaries that are at the very, very top because of the wind down activities. Otherwise, they will furlough 42 out of the 45 of them. So a lot, a lot of them. The Chief Information Officer. Okay, so the Office of the Chief Information Officer. Let's take a look. There's a total of 2,591. Required for wind down will be 2,507. Exception will be 694 that get to keep their jobs. Around, it looks like 1,897 will be furloughed. So basically, of the total 2,591, for those handling the Chief Information Officer portion of the office, only 1,897 employees will be allowed, only 1,897 employees will be furloughed, which is still a giant chunk of 2,500. So most of them will not be active. Real quick, thank you, Princess Diana, for the $5 donation. She is royalty with us. She's been with us for a very, very, very long time, and I hope the doggy's doing very, very well. Excellent. Thank you, Diana. That's amazing. So the next one is the Office of the Commissioner. There are basically a total of 11 employees, okay, that are upkeeping the Office of the Commissioner. A total of 7 of them will be furloughed. Only 4 of them will be allowed to basically go ahead and stay. The Communications Office on behalf of the SSA has 32 employees. Only a total of 4 will be allowed to stay. 28 of them will be furloughed. The Office of Disability Adjudications, okay, which is kind of scary because these are the people who essentially go ahead and decide your claims, right? They're the administrative law judges, DDS reps, stuff like that. 7,148 people, okay? Those that will be allowed to keep their jobs, 6,719. So most of them, but 429 of them will be furloughed. Financial management, 679 total jobs. 224 get to keep working, but 455 will be furloughed. Human Resource Office of the SSA, 286. Only 21 of them will be allowed to continue working. However, 265 will be furloughed. Now, some of these people, they get to continue to work, but they're told you're not going to get paid until we come back online. So just keep in mind that happens. Human Resources for Reasonable Accommodations, 171 employees. 156 will be allowed to stay. 15 will be required to furlough. Law and Policy, 792 employees. Only 81 will be allowed to stay. 711 of these employees will be required to be furloughed. operation field offices, processing centers, and digital services, the people you guys interact with, the people that you guys talk to. There is 37,395 people, okay, that are basically used, the bulk, the 37,395. So the main chunk of the employees at the SSA. So of these 37,395 employees, okay, a total of 35,899 will be able to keep their jobs. 1,496 will be furloughed. Risk and quality, 1,861 employees. A total of 1,462 employees will get to keep their job. 399 will be furloughed. Security and resiliency, guards, stuff like that. Tech people who follow security procedures. 372, only 99 will be able to stay. 273 will be furloughed. This accounts for their 51,383 total staff members, which a total of 45,366 get to keep their job, whereas 6,017 will be furloughed. Now you understand the basic fundamentals of what a government shutdown does to the actual numbers of personnel at the SSA. And what it really comes down to is just kind of understand it as it is, as it comes across the desk. I think what you have to keep in mind is that these shutdowns are massively bad for business. And the negotiations over certain people getting medical, treatment or funding towards potential health insurance, stuff like that, it's a problem, because what we have is a situation where, unfortunately, Americans are getting punished for the expectations of both, not just the Democrats, but also the Republicans. Now, the Republicans have it a little bit easier in this situation because they're not the ones who are promoting something that's like, very specific to what they want. They're passing a Biden era budget. And the Democrats are pushing for something, and the immigrants are not a positive topic. It's not for the illegal immigrants, but again, many immigrants that came into this country that became legal immigrants would not have normally come in, but for Biden mass allowing tens of millions of immigrants, through the general process being much more open, and of course the borders have been much more open as well. So there's over a good enough period of time, a chunk of people, but specifically for his presidency, putting Kamala in charge of that whole wall situation. She would not. There's a game called like Clash of Clans or whatever or something. It's where basically you try to take over somebody else's base. Let me tell you, whoever the Biden Kamala team would have is their base would be constantly taken over. But again, remember, at the end of the day, it's over, basically individuals who are seeking funding that are, legal to this country. But then you get into the question of how many of those individuals were allowed through in a more traditional method, and how many were kind of like put through in the attempt to vote farm. That's kind of what it comes down to. And that's what has people so upset. And you get to decide what you like. You get to decide the direction you want to go with it. Kevin did a $5 donation. Let me put a big heart there. If I live on raw land and I pay my mom $600 a month, who is paying the land off, does that count as me paying rent? $527 to qualify for full $950. So, I mean, if you're paying, so you live on raw land, mom, who's paying land off. So your mom owns the land. So yeah, I mean, you would essentially be renting from her for that land, but that doesn't mean rent to. I mean, yeah, that does. Yeah, that's like a rent. You're renting essentially. Are you saying full $950? Are you saying SSI $967? Because if you're paying rent, and remember the rule is like $320 something. And if you pay more rent than that in total, you don't get hit with the 1/3 reduction rule. So yeah, you should be okay at that amount. You should be okay. All right. With that said, I hope you guys are doing well. I'm going to go right to the next video and be very quick. Please remember, if you need a disability attorney, 9 to 5er, right here, Attorney Walter Hnot must viewed, clicked on, and subscribed to Disability Attorney. Please remember to click on disability resolution on Google. If you get a chance to go over there, click on, go to Google, type in disability resolution. We super appreciate that if you leave some stars up there, but totally up to you. With that said, we're going to do the next video where I go live and answer questions and actually debate you. You will be able to call in to the law firm phone number on my phone. The phone will be put into one of these. You'll be clipped in, and you'll get to debate me on whether people with anxiety should be allowed to have personal protection firearms. I'll catch you at the next video. Attorney Walter Hnot. Have a wonderful, wonderful night, and we will rock and roll from there. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.